Let's go. Best ball drafts are underway on Underdog Fantasy right now, and a lot of ADP risers and a lot of ADP fallers that could be reflecting to the summertime when redraft formats are up and alive. So let's jump right into the risers. I'm going to give you the dessert first because I don't want to start with the veggies because it could make you click out for some of the players I'm going to mention. But let's start with the risers, man. Honestly, Jaylen Wright for the Miami Dolphins, rookie prospect. He is coming out of Tennessee, and I really feel as though he can have some opportunities in year one. We're looking at Raheem Mostert, 32 years old. He finished the season fairly well with 21 touchdowns, finishing as a top 5 running back, but he did suffer a knee and ankle injury on the back end of the season where he missed 2 games. So I'm not quite sure if he has another 17 games in him going into this next season. I really feel as though they drafted Jaylen Wright just based on Raheem Mostert had to take on most of that workload with Devon Achane missing 6 games and leaving 1 game early. So I think they want to be prepared to have a RB2 on hand if either Achan or Mostert for the missed time. So he is a guy that's going in the 13th round. I can predict that by summertime, it's probably going to be in that 10th, 9th round based on the reports and coach speak, because we got to be honest. Raheem Mostert, 32 years old, still has the ability going in the 8th round, still has the RB1 upside, but I don't know if he has a full season in him. So Jaylen Wright could get sprinkled into some opportunities here when you have Devon Achan, who already has an injury bug on his jacket. There is a no-brainer here to grab you up some Jaylen Wright for the value right now today for the 13th round, to where I see it's going to be on the rise when summertime comes around. So next we're looking at Curtis Samuel, who's going in that 9th round. I don't see a huge rise like a couple rounds, but maybe one round that he may rise up in the summer, because Curtis Samuel is a underrated wide receiver, man. Since 2019, for most of his career, he's been a top 40 wide receiver. And I think the experience that he has with Joe Brady should not be discounted here. It should be looked at and focused on because, man, we go back to 2020 in that Carolina offense. We look at the offense with Teddy Bridgewater as the quarterback. Joe Brady was able to bring out career highs in DJ Moore, Robbie Chosen, and Curtis Samuel. And all three of these wide receivers at the time finished the top 25 wide receivers. That is crazy to me, man. Curtis Samuel is a player that can be utilized all over the offense. And I think Joe Brady is in love with that. And I think he's going to change the identity of this Bills offense in 2024, being that a lot of these guys are going to get opportunities where they're going to spread the ball out. We look at Joe Brady last season when he took over in those 9 games. Khalil Shakir really turned up. He actually, in those 9 games, led the wide receiver core and Dalton Kincaid in points per game with 10.3. Stephon Diggs had a solid 10.0 points per game when Ken Dorsey was out of the building. So we're looking at this offense where there is a floor for these guys. 14 fantasy points per game across the board, where Robbie Chosen, DJ Moore, and Curtis Samuel averaged in 2020 under Joe Brady. So I think his ADP may be on the rise, but not that much. Like I said, he's in the 9th round right now. I could see him living in the 8th round, early 8th round come summertime. Now we're looking at Brian Robinson Jr. for the Commanders. He could be a massive sleeper in 2024. All it's going to take is for Cliff Kingsbury or somebody on that coaching staff to notion that he is the RB1 or he has RB1 opportunities. Because, man, we look back when Cliff Kingsbury was with the Cardinals. We look at Kenyon Drake in the first time he was in his system, and James Conner the first time he was in Cliff Kingsbury system. They both had career high fantasy production out of this system the first time they were in a Cliff Kingsbury scheme. We look at Kenyon Drake averaging 19 fantasy points per game and go, oh, wow, cool. Then you look at James Conner averaging 17 fantasy points per game the first year he was in Cliff Kingsbury's system. I look at this as a possible opportunity for Brian Robinson Jr., who's going in the 10th round right now. His ADP could be on a rise come summertime as well. So please make sure you keep your eyes on Brian Robinson Jr.'s ADP, and make sure if you're in the best ball drafts right now that you're grabbing a ton of him. This is great value here in the 10th round for a guy that's on a new offense that has a quarterback now. There's an offensive spark here that is going on around the building, and I really feel as though Cliff Kingsbury, he's going to get very, very creative with this offensive scheme. So I'm looking forward for all the cheap Brian Robinson Jr. shares in the month of May and maybe in the month of August as well, because hopefully we're still keeping this a secret and we can still bank on this value here. Now, Will Levis's ADP right now is in the deep depths of hell right now in the 15th round, but his ADP is for sure going to be on the rise once we get closer to summertime. Now, Will Levis, there's one of the areas where he definitely struggled at where it was very embarrassing, and it was on third down. He finished 32nd out of 35 qualified quarterbacks in completion percentage on third down. He struggled to connect with his number one target in DeAndre Hopkins, where he had a 16.7 completion percentage on third down when targeting D Hop. That is real nasty work. But the good news is that this all season they were able to acquire Calvin Ridley, so that gives him some juice on the outside as well. And they also brought in recently Tyler Boyd, who can definitely help in this area. That I think this can keep the drives alive and get the chains moving to make more scoring opportunities. Because man, it was very depressing to see Will Levis fall off a cliff after he had those 4 touchdowns. Now the third down area is where I really want to highlight here, where it's very important for a young quarterback like this to put the right pieces around him. So you look at Tyler Boyd. They bring in Tyler Boyd, which is such a underrated ad, because Tyler Boyd, when he was with the Bengals and Joe Burrow was the starting quarterback since 2020, Tyler Boyd led the wide receivers on third down targets, receptions, receiving first downs, catch rate, and touchdowns on third down. This is a huge addition for Will Levis and a weapon that he can utilize on third down to keep these drives alive. Nothing like having a reliable slot wide receiver on your side that could be your security blanket to keep the drives alive. So I'm all in on Will Levis in the 15th round, but he could be rising. He could be on the rise. A lot of people down on him. So this is just me basically saying buy the dip now, and then in summertime, wherever the price may adjust at, because camp highlights is what really in coach speak and beat writers, what makes these things rise up. You still invest in Will Levis in 2024. Now let's get into the guys that are falling, where the ADP is going down and their stock is going down. Their value is plummeting. So let's start with Denver. Let's start with Javonte Williams, man. I think this is a huge question mark on his usage, where his role is. And we got to look at guys like Jaleel McLaughlin as a real threat to his production because, man, last season, you only have 6 games of Javonte Williams playing over 50%. And I understand he was returning back from injury, but this may be a Sean Payton thing. And they also bring in Audric Estime as well, the rookie. I really feel as though he might have some impact in year one, but not a huge enough impact to take away from Jaleel or take away from Javonte Williams. But he's going in the 9th round right now. I'm not really sure that his role is solid for me to be taking a shot on him. There's other guys in those rounds that I'd rather take on. There's guys that I'd rather take on earlier to where I don't have to worry about a running back like Javonte Williams in the 9th round, being that it gets a little nasty work when we get down there. So Javonte Williams, his talent was never really in question. His ability to stay healthy was, but now the ability of healthy is on the table, where he has the injury bug on his jacket. And we also have to question how much usage is he really going to get out of this backfield. Now, I want to be clear. Deebo Samuel is on the fall. He's on the decline now in the ADP and value area when we're going into these best ball drafts and into redraft formats as well in the summer, just based on, listen, he's a top 15 wide receiver at the end of the day, but that's only with Kyle Shanahan. With these trade rumors coming up, I really feel as though he will be the target that will be on the move, and I'm not quite sure that I like Deebo Samuel in any other system in the NFL other than Kyle Shanahan. We look at Deebo Samuel in the last 3 years. He suffered some injuries, been getting banged up lately. His rushing production and attempts have been going down each year. He's not the Deebo Samuel that we known and loved 3 seasons ago. He's a guy that's still in the mix, still involved. Like I said, he's still a top 20, a top 15 wide receiver in fantasy, just based on how Kyle Shanahan is able to utilize Deebo. I really feel as though if these trade rumors are real, I think this may happen after June 1st, being that they do save some money on the cap. Not a lot of dead money, if any, if they move on from Deebo. I really feel as though any notable dead money, I should say. I just feel as though Deebo may be on the move, and I'm not going to like any of the situations he can go to because I'm not quite sure if he could be utilized that way. If he comes to the Rams, hey, cool, maybe. Sean McVay's still cut from that same cloth that could probably utilize him, but that would be the only landing spot where I feel as though I'll be able to take a shot on Deebo Samuel in those first 2 to 3 rounds in ADP. Now, last but certainly not least, for the faller in ADP right now, where I feel as though he's still going a little too early for my taste, but it's Kiron Williams. Yes, I am a Rams fan, but I got to be honest with my players, man. You need to be cautious when going into drafts, getting the Kiron Williams. He fell out of the first round. Now he's still early in that second round, where some people feel comfortable taking him, but you cannot discount Blake Corum's possible involvement in his backfield. I could see them splitting the red zone to where they can try to keep Kiron Williams a little bit less banged up in the trenches, where Blake can just come in and be that 1-2 punch, because Kiron Williams also has an injury bug on his jacket as well, building up quite a injury history early on into his career. But I feel as though this was such a great move by the Rams, where they can have a similar two running backs that can do each other's jobs, that play similar roles, and take over one another if one was to suffer injury. So please do not discount Blake Corum's involvement out of this Rams backfield, and be cautious getting Kiron Williams. But I really feel as though closer we get to summer, Coach B comes out, highlight tapes, you know how it goes, beat writers reporting. I just feel as though out of Sean McVay's mouth, he might possibly say that he sees both of these guys as starting running backs, because we've seen him say this before with Darrell Henderson and Cam Akers. So this wraps up another great episode of RotoBaller Fantasy Sports YouTube channel. Please make sure you guys like and subscribe, and head to the website, rotoballer.com, sign up as a subscription, and get 10% off when you use promo code FIRE. Just straight up FIRE. Fire. F-I-R-E. Fire. That's it. But man, you guys can follow me on all social media platforms at Real Deal Fantasy. Until next time.